Hello, the name is OT9000, aka Ultimate Gamer 19,000, and I'm here to teach new DMs how to run D&D for newer players. Now, first of all, let's start off with making your characters. If a player wants to make a character for the very first time, ask them these few questions. First, how does their character want to fight? Are they going to be using a sword? Are they going to be long range? Or are they going to be casting spells? And then from there, you can continue to build. So, for example, if your player wants to cast spells, then maybe teach them the wizard or sorcerer, the sorcerer wizard. They're mainly spellcasters. Let's say your player wants to use both a sword and some spells. Hexblade Warlock. You as a DM should have more knowledge of your players, of the overall classes, and entice them to playing it. Second of all, so once your players have all picked their classes, this video is going to be a little bit spread out. I am newer to YouTube, so sorry for any tangents or anything off topic, but make sure that your players are balanced no matter what class they pick. Just because a player wants to play a monk and someone else wants to play a paladin does not mean that they should be weaker than each other. All of your players should be around that equal level, and make that very clear. Makes it so then all your players know if they pick a weaker class, they will most likely be getting more magic items, or more feats, or more random stuff. And make sure your players know that if they pick something that's traditionally more powerful, they probably will get some less magic items. But still remember to give them some magic items, because imagine being a level 20 sorcerer that never gets a single magic item. Yeah, you may have like 3 monks on your team, but you still want a magic item. So sorry, that was my computer, not your guys'. They still want a magic item. So make sure that every single player is getting magic items, but if you don't have a weaker player, make sure to prioritize to get them more stuff, because they're playing a weaker class and they're new to the game. So most likely that's a huge like that's really bad for them. So make sure you equal them out even. And also, let's just say your players don't really know what they want to do. Here are some recommendations that I personally recommend as a newer DM that's played for brand new players that's never even heard of D&D or Baldur's Gate 3, and what type of classes they usually enjoy. First of all, the barbarian. The barbarian, I've never met a player that doesn't love playing a barbarian. Cause what's not to love? They get rage, which makes all damage half against them. They can hit very hard. They get extra damage with their rage, and at higher levels, they can even stay alive when they get knocked out. Overall, playing a barbarian half orc usually lets players get that fantasy of just being an immovable tank that shreds through the battlefield. I mostly recommend barbarian. Now, if your players wants to be a jack of all trades, I actually wouldn't recommend the bard, which they are the jack of all trades. I would recommend the druid. Now, the druids are good at healing, good at tanky, good at support, good at damage dealing. The druids are all around just good at everything. The wild shapes gives them so much HP, and gives them so much HP and a lot of attack power, and of course they have spells. So spells are good in D&D, and also in general, druids are just good. They have a D8 hit dice, which isn't the best, but isn't the worst. They have their main attacks. Their main stat is wisdom, and wisdom is very good for many saving throws. So either ways, if you have a new player that kind of just wants to do a little bit of everything, I feel like the druid is a very slept on class. Now you may be asking, okay, I have players, they want to play a druid and barbarian. What subclasses should they use? They don't know. They don't know anything. What subclasses should they use? Well, the best subclass that usually everyone loves when playing a druid is a moon druid. A moon druid lets their wild shapes become even stronger, and their wild shapes allows them to turn into animals. So, they'll be able to turn to different types of animals more frequently, meaning they have more choices to make, and they can get more excited because when they level up, they may have access to a new animal that's even more powerful. And yes, I know the big option of animals can be confusing for some players, But for some like just easy, oh pick this. The bear for druids is very strong. Just if you're ever a low level druid and don't know what to watch shape into, a bear. The bears never do anything wrong and anyone wrong. Just turn into a bear. They have good hit points, they have good damage, they have good everything. Except for good armor class, but you have a lot of HP. So usually just tell them turn into a bear. They'll be fine. Now for the barbarian. What subclass should they play if they want to be a barbarian? Now this is pretty easy in my opinion. If they want to get some true barbarian flavor, they pick one of two. Now it's either the Totem Warrior Barbarian or the Path of the Berserker Barbarian. The Path of the Berserker lets them get so angry that they can get an extra attack. And for a lot of beginning players, they mainly just focus on damage. So getting a whole extra attack is super good for beginning players. Now, with Frenzy, you do get a point of exhaustion when you use it. I, as a DM, personally homebrew that players just don't have to do that because either ways, all my characters are going to be balanced. So I don't really care for such unbalanced things as an extra attack, and also there's feats that do it. And you may be saying, oh, it's a subclass feature and not a feat, but other subclasses, especially barbarian ones, have very strong features. Extraordinarily strong features. So I feel like when it comes to a barbarian, picking a Path for the Berserker, it's it's like equal. It's equal in my opinion. Also, mindless range, they can't be charmed or frightened while raging. Intimidating presence. Not a lot of people use this. I feel like this is something beginners will use once, but then never touch again. Which they have frenzy. They don't really need anything else. And then retaliation. I see a lot of players actually love when they finally remember they have retaliation. Retaliation because they're someone just stab them, and then they hit back with an axe, and usually that brings players a lot of joy because they can't just do anything. They don't have to sit there and take hits. They can, but they don't have to, which a lot of players, newer players, seem to love. Just the flavor of being a barbarian that can dish out an equally strong sword slash or hammer slash to an enemy that just stabbed you. A lot of players love that. Next one, Path of the Totem War Barbarian. Now this is one of the most broken subclasses the Barbarian gets, and one of the main reasons why I make Frenzy just not use Exhaustion. Because if you pick a Baritone Barbarian, you are resistant to all damage in the game except for Psychic. And for new players, just telling them that no matter what they get hit by, they most likely won't die just makes players so happy. Players love when they can just eat a whole fireball and walk out unfazed. A lot of players are like, wow, I just ate a whole fireball that one shot my wizard, but I just ate it and I can take two more. A lot of players love that flavor and feeling. The rest of these abilities, honestly, I don't know what they do because it's just Bear Totem is so impactful that a lot of people love it. Also, they can fly at level 14, which players love flying. Let's not beat around the bush. Players love flying. But yeah, Totem Warrior is very powerful. That's why Path of the Berserker, I don't give it exhaustion. So you not be saying, okay, my players, they got my players now. They got their class. They got their subclass. What race do they do? Now I've already mentioned that Barbarian Half Orc usually does succeed, and in general, the Half Orc race is such a good one, right next to the human. Being a Half Orc allows players to say no to when they just get knocked out. And I'm mostly a DM, but I have been a player, and being a half orc that can just say no to getting knocked out is so amazing, especially when the DM makes it so flavorful of you standing up back when the dragon just sliced through you, but then you can tell, but then you can still stand tanking the hit. Also, players love a lot of damage, and Savage Attack just gives you more damage. So a lot of players usually picking a half orc from the player's handbook or SRD just makes players happy. Now human. A lot of starting players usually just like humans simple, it's relatable, and also the fact that humans get a free feat allows players to, you know, feel like they're ahead of their teammates. Now, like that's kind of dumb, but I have noticed that some players that pick Fair and Human usually think, "Wow, I have a whole feat," while everyone doesn't have one. Like they usually feel special because they have a feat when no one else does. So, Fair and Human is also a very good choice. And also, you might be saying, "Oh, my player wants to play a druid or a bard. They don't need strength." With Tasha's coaching of everything, they can actually swap out those ability scores for anything they want. So now you can play a druid half orc and it still fits. So those are the two classes I usually recommend. But now you may be asking, okay, my players, now they've played their druids, they've played their barbarians. What now? Well, then, after your players have gone through that first little session, I'd recommend you to send them to the Dungeon Dudes. The Dungeon Dudes are some D&D YouTubers that I've been supporting for a long time, and basically on their channel, anything D&D wise, they have it. They've ranked many spells. They've ranked all the classes. They've ranked every single subclass in the game, and also have informational videos on how to play some of the classes. So after that first session, if your players don't know what they want to play, send them over to the Dungeon Dudes and just let them watch their videos. Now, if they want specific playlists, I would recommend the subclass videos where they've ranked every single subclass in the tier list. See which one they like. Or the multi-class tier list. Now this is for like session this is like for like the later sessions when they're like less of a noob in D&D. Maybe show them the multi-class tier list. Also the class ranking. That one's good. But in general, they have so many videos that a player can use to become informed. Or you can just send them the D&D wiki. Maybe some players don't like to watch hundreds of videos and would much rather just read everything. Send them to the D&D wiki. I will have both the Dungeon Dudes channels and the D&D wiki linked in the description of this video. So yeah, as a DM, now you know how to run session 1 for completely new players. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.